What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, Joker back again once again, and welcome back to another Destiny 2 Season 15 lore breakdown. I think we're on, what, episode 6 at this point? And if last week was the calm before the storm, this was putting the storm on indefinite hiatus, as I guess Destiny hits its mid-season? Or I guess what should have been its mid-season holding pattern. Season 15 is going to be a weird one, all things considered, with it stretched out until the end of February 2022. And when Bungie chooses to continue moving the proverbial narrative ball down the court is anybody's guess. But I really hope they don't keep things relatively stagnant until after the Festival of the Lost, kinda like how they put Season of the Splicers narrative on hold until after Solstice of Heroes. But if they do, and you forget the narrative up until that point, I guess that's what these story recap videos are for. Speaking of, if you missed out on the last one, there'll be a link in the description below, but without further ado, let's get into it. So, like always, we start our weekly adventure out in the Helm, where Mara once again tasks us with finding one of her lost tech witches.
A ring of spears pointing inward from the edges of our system. The Black Fleet could have destroyed us, and yet they have waited. Why? Savathun knows more than she lets on. It is the only reason she still lives, and she is keenly aware of that fact. It is why Xivu Arath pursues her so relentlessly. For Xivu Arath answers to the same entity as the Black Fleet. We must uncover whatever secrets she knows with the time that we have. I must reiterate, she will try to betray us. It is all that a wretched, self-serving creature like Savathun knows how to do. She needs me to free herself of her worm, but after that, the blind well requires alignment. As you rescue my remaining Techians, continue your audiences with her. How did Mies Rex put it? We must all learn to live alongside our monsters. Though I suppose he never said for how long.
Now, while the narrative itself isn't moved down the field, there is a couple of interesting revelations here. First, Mara doesn't know what the Darkness, the Black Fleet, or the Winnower's motivations are, something that we find out in the Book of the Unveiling. In the lore card Wager, where the Winnower spells out their motivation, take a listen. Your shoemaker philosopher was right, and it matters more than anything. Sorrow cannot survive death, and it cannot precede birth. Those who exist have moral worth. Those who do not have none. Think about it. Do you mourn the uncreated? Do you grieve for those who were never born in a nation that never developed around an ideology no one ever imagined on a continent that never formed? No. And from that self-evident truth, you must raise your eyes to the ultimate revelation. Those who cannot sustain their own claim to existence belong in the same moral category as those who have never existed at all. Existence is the first and truest proof of the right to exist. Those who cannot claim and hold existence do not deserve it. This is the true and only divination, a game whose losers are not just forgotten, but never born at all. That which cannot claim and hold existence is not real. You do not mourn the unreal. Why should you care for it? Tend it, guard it. It was the gardener who chose you from the dead. I would not have done that. It's just not in me. But now that they have invested themselves into you, you are incredibly, uniquely special. That wandering refugee chose to make a stand, spend their power to say, here I prove myself right. Here I wager, given power over physics and the trust of absolute freedom, people will choose to build and protect a gentle kingdom ringed in spears, and not fall to temptation, and not surrender to division, and never yield to the cynicism that says, everyone else is so good, I can afford to be a little evil. The gardener is all in, they're playing for keeps, and they're wrong. Or so I argue. For after all, the universe is undecidable. There is no destiny. We're all making this up as we go along. Neither the gardener nor I know for certain that we are eternally, universally right. But we can be nothing except what we are. You have a choice. You are the gardener's final argument. It would mean everything if I could convince you that I am the right and only way. I truly value you. To the gardener, you're a means to an end. To me, you are majestic. Majestic. You are full of the only thing worth anything at all. I am, by the only standard that matters or will ever matter, the winning team. Existence is a test that most will fail. Would you not count yourself among the victorious few? Don't hurry to deliver your answer. I'll come over and hear it myself. So either Mara doesn't know about this lore, which I find very unlikely given her trust and working relationship with Eris, or Mara doesn't believe that the Winnower's motivations could be something so juvenile and petty, or she doesn't believe that the Winnower is the ultimate evil, that there is something beyond that controlling it, which seems to be the case. Slowly, the narrative is trying to paint this picture that clearly things are not as they seem when it comes to the great cosmology of the Destiny universe's pantheon. What we originally thought was a simple fight between two opposing ideologies, two opposing forms of ruin out of balance, which could be boiled down to extreme Darwinism versus extreme altruism, may have more players than we initially thought, and we're only now seeing the true scope of things. I have a few opinions on what I think the ultimate evil of the Destiny universe is, linked to the first theory in the description below if you guys want to check that out. The other point of interest in this conversation is in the opening dialogue, where Mara points out that our solar system is surrounded by the Black Fleet. This is something that Mara has known about since the Golden Age. As we learn in the lore card Cosmogore 1, quote, "Other colony missions have vanished during their outward burn, victims of mishap or hostility." And because of these disappearances, Project Amorite did not hurl itself fearless into the void. Rather, they came armed to the molars. So, our solar system has been surrounded since the Golden Age, with nothing being able to leave, but things being able to come in. And while that is an interesting side note, what we see with these two pieces of information is either Mara is not telling us everything, or she doesn't know as much as she lets on. And while that may come off as a no-shit Sherlock revelation to some, the main takeaway here is when it comes to the Winnower's motivation. Mara's right. The Black Fleet could have annihilated us at any point. Surround the Sol system with the Black Fleet and fire into it until there is nothing left but dust. But she doesn't want to do that. She wants to win the moral argument. She wants to prove to the Gardener that her way is the right way, the only way. She wants to turn the Gardener's last and final argument against the Gardener. Perhaps the Traveler could stop it, but given the cost that it took last time, and the Traveler only reaching a new stage in its recovery recently, they may not have the power to stop the Black Fleet. We then come to a conversation between Ikora and Petra in regards to the fate of Osiris.
Petra, it's Ikora Ray. I thought now would be a good time to check in.
Things are progressing as well as can be expected, given the circumstances. While we've recovered some of the lost Techians, we still don't have everyone we need to separate Savathun from her worm.
Understood. Don't rush this on my account. Savathun may be waiting for the freedom she thinks is coming, but frankly, I don't care what she wants. This needs to be done with as minimal risk to your people as possible.
I know you hope that this will lead you to Osiris, but you want my opinion? Osiris is already dead. Savathun is a creature of lies. She has no honor.
Your opinion is noted. And on the subject of opinions, how's Crow?
You want my take? On him? In a word, vulnerable. But Queen Mara refuses to send him away. Though, you could.
Trust is a delicate thing, Petra. I don't want to lose his. This is important to him. I trust Crow to make the right choices, and for you to protect him from himself if he doesn't.
The plot thread of where is Carmen Sandiego, Osiris, is going to be a plot thread that I think will be left dangling well into Witch Queen. Savathun tells us she will give us Osiris back once we help her get rid of her worm, but we don't actually know what happens when you remove a hive's worm, or Mara could betray us, making the calculation that Osiris's loss or death versus killing a hive god is a fair trade. You know, after killing Aldrin, it might be the dues that the Vanguard owe, at least in her mind. Regardless, if we don't get Osiris back this season, going into Witch Queen, I do think it'll be something that Savathun will be able to hold over our heads. The other interesting lore tidbit is the conversation that we have with Savathun. Take a look.
When this is over, I wonder if Mara will uphold her end of the bargain and let me live. Killing me is probably at the top of your to-do list as well, isn't it? You've done a lot of killing over the years. Let me ask you something. Of all the enemies you've fought, how many saw your ghost and realized, that's why Guardians are so strong? Not most, but some. They might have even taken a shot at it. R.I.P. CAYDE. Now, how many saw beyond your ghost? How many followed the line of your light straight back to the Traveler? And how many knew enough to aim a weapon there? A few. The smart ones, the dangerous ones. You'd recognize their names. Listen to me now. Look beyond me to my worm. Look beyond my worm to something far, far worse. Then look down at that little gun in your hand and tell me, what do you think you're going to do with that thing?
Now, while I've already done a large video on the implications of Savathûn being cognizant of the player, link in the description, this is just a great continuation of the pattern of Savathûn breaking the fourth wall. She literally memes on us, which is going to be what most people focus on, but she also tells us her plan, and it's one of those brilliant moments where the bad guy is so secure in their plan that they spell it out to you because they know that there's nothing you can do about it. Savathûn is going to be killed at the end of the season, once her worm is removed. She must have watched this cinematic.
Tell me again, Speaker, what makes your guardians worthy of the light? What is the price of such power and immortality?
Devotion, self-sacrifice, death.
Death. Explain.
Devotion inspires bravery. Bravery inspires sacrifice. Sacrifice leads to death. So, feel free to kill yourself.
And said, yeah, that checks out. I'm gonna do that. But yeah, those have been my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did. Subscribe for more. Feel free to donate to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly generous. But above all else, stay frosty.